Welcome back to Fireside Giants with your boy Alex. So, Houston Texans today, we saw a lot of really inconsistent football from this Giants team in the first quarter. Now, of course, they utilized their starters for pretty much the entire first half of this game. CJ Stroud and the starters for the Texans played the first quarter. A lot of their primary pass rushers were not in this game, but there was some pretty big takeaways. Now, of course, we'll talk about Daniel Jones' performance, talk about the pick six, we'll talk about the second interception, just a really nice play from the defensive side. But, thinking about where we need Daniel Jones to be, obviously coming off the ACL tear, this is not a situation where we're expecting him to be, fresh, ready to go on day one. But at the same time, we've seen 5 years of bad mistakes just like this. We've seen him do stuff like this during regular season games throughout his career. That pick six is something that you just cannot do. It doesn't matter if you're coming off an ACL tear. That's something like you just don't make that decision. That's a mental thing. His leg isn't going to make a difference mentally. You have to throw that ball away. You have to get that thing out of there. You have to throw it at the feet of the receiver. Instead, he threw it right up to to Jalen Petre, the safety for, of course, the Houston Texans. Now, Daniel Jones bounced back in some ways later on in the game. Once the starters for the Texans came out of the game, DJ, of course, started playing much better. Now, that's not really what you want to see. You want to see him playing a lot better against starters. Obviously, the deep ball, he tried to take a couple of shots. Looking at the shot that Darius Slayton he had, it was slightly underthrown, but still good enough pass. Ended up down the 1 yard line. So, you love to see that. Slayton consistently generates separation. Really, really solid receiver. Now, we don't know what the future with Slayton looks like. Jalen Hyatt seems to be taking that role long term. But if Slayton has a really big year, like who's to say the Giants don't spend a bit of money to keep him? They have so little invested in terms of financial support at the receiver position. Neighbors is on a rookie deal. Wandale's on a rookie deal. Hyatt's on a rookie deal. You can afford to probably spend a couple bucks to keep Slayton if you want to go that direction, depending on the kind of year that he does have. There is an idea that he could end up being traded if the Giants are very good this year to a team like maybe the Bills that could use receiving talent. So we'll see how the season progresses. But if he has a great year, stays with the Giants, they may want to bring him back and be that number two alongside Neighbors and just solidify a solid receiver core that does have a really solid slot option in Wandale Robinson. But we saw Daniel Jones running a bit, had some nice moments when he was taking off on the ground. He's a good straight line runner, but obviously you don't want to see him taking off too much running. You want to see him throwing the football and doing it effectively. Had a couple of nice throws across the middle, and of course Malik Neighbors on the right boundary with an absolute gem of a catch, acrobatic. He made up for that drop early on in the game, went up and caught that ball, got his feet in bounds. Look, guys, Malik Neighbors, what more do we have to say? He looks the part of a superstar. He's young, developing chemistry, first action in the NFL, really in terms of getting targets in this second preseason game. And he looked excellent. The route running was good. The speed was good. He was beating his assignments. If this Giants team can protect Daniel Jones or protect whoever's playing quarterback long term, and you have speed guys on the outside, it's going to be really hard to stop both of them. You have to have safeties, kind of covering those portions of the field, and you can't cover everybody deep. So that leads me to actually the protection. Offensive line looked really solid. There was some lapses, don't get me wrong. There's still a lot to do, a lot of growth and development needs to happen. But from, in perspective compared to previous 5, 6, 7, 8 years, this was a much better performance from the Giants offensive line. The cohesion, the chemistry, the synergy, it was all very legit. Like they look like they played as a unit and not individual kind of ball there. And that's what you want to see from an offensive line. They should be acting as one. They should be acting as kind of a hive. And instead, in the past, they've been operating individually. Guys getting beat, guys unable to survive on an island. Jermaine Illuminor looked really solid today. Andrew Thomas was excellent. The interior looked pretty solid. On the majority of deep throws that Daniel Jones did have, the pocket was clean. And not just clean, it was really clean. So you love to see that from the Giants offensive line. It looked exponentially better than in the past. Now, DJ obviously got to hit some of those throws. That second interception, maybe you want to put a little bit more loft in that ball. It was a little bit more of a line drive. Obviously the corner was able to step right in front and pick it off. Maybe there should have been a little bit more aggression from Hyatt on that part. You could put the blame however you want. I'm not going to blame everything on Daniel Jones. That first interception, though, was absolutely his fault. Throws it right to Petre. Walks in for a pick six. We've experienced too much of that as Giant fans. And unfortunately, you just can't do that, man. You're in year 6. I don't care if you're coming off an ACL tear. Those decisions show up on his tape every single season. That's not something that just disappears and, overnight. So, thinking about the future of this offense, those mistakes cannot happen. Now, of course, it's the preseason. Doesn't matter. Doesn't count. So obviously, he'll go into the regular season, clean slate. We'll forget about it. But regular season comes around. If he's doing those types of things, making those decisions again, we're going to have a conversation. Like, what happens if he is consistently not playing well? Well, you might have to think about benching him for Tommy DeVito, but, we're far from that right now. But he did bounce back against the second stringers. We did like to see at least a rebound in that regard. There are some other positives. Devin Singletary, really liked what he put on the field. I thought that he looked excellent, making some guys miss, churning out extra yards. Eric Gray also had a couple of really, really nice runs in this game as well. So the running backs I'm not really that concerned about. The offensive line did a lot better. They look a lot better than they have in recent years. Excited. I'm cautiously optimistic at this point. Need to see it. Need to see it against starters for a whole game. Need to see them stay healthy first and foremost. But there is a tangible, palpable difference here. Carmen Brasillo is putting together a much better offensive line. So hopefully things continue to progress and compound on a week-by-week basis in that regard. But, other positives, Wandale didn't really get much action this game. Theo Johnson wasn't really a factor. As I said, Slayton looked really good. Hyatt had a couple of decent moments. Neighbors looked like a star. His growth has been exponential. He came into the league with that type of upside. He's showing it. Just got to stay healthy and keep things going. The second half of this game was pretty boring. Tommy DeVito didn't really do much. Allen Robinson had a couple targets. Eric Gray had a couple big runs, but otherwise, the defense, aside from Elijah Chapman, by the way, that guy locked up a starting job, or at least he's locked up a roster spot. I wouldn't be surprised if he was starting alongside Dexter Lawrence on day one. I know Raheem Nunez-Roche is probably the vet starter there, but I watched Elijah Chapman chase down a freaking running back, and I posted it on Twitter. That is impressive. Like, this guy must be 250 pounds in just pure muscle, short, stocky dude, ran down a running back who's probably 100 pounds less than him. Pretty freaking impressive, if you ask me. Really, really excited to see Elijah Chapman's development and growth here, especially Andre Patterson, who's so good at developing young and, veteran pieces and bringing the best out of everybody. So love to see that from Elijah Chapman. Really impressed. Linebacker core, they're being shredded. Micah McFadden left with a hip injury. Deontay Johnson with a foot injury last week. He's in a walking boot. Matthew Adams, he got knocked out with a groin injury, I believe. So he was knocked out of this game. Hip injury to McFadden, who was carted off the field. That, already we're going into week 3 of the preseason, and our linebacker core is shredded. And, of course, Fabio Carrique is the primary guy there, but you don't want to see this. McFadden's loss is massive. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully it's just minor and he can shake it off in a couple of weeks, but that's something that we will note, and possibly a position that the Giants may have to address via waiver claims or free agency, so we'll see how things progress there. The biggest weakness, though, on this team is by far the secondary. The secondary looked really, really bad. CJ Stroud picked them apart, and it wasn't even close. He had 88 yards on 7 of 10 attempts. Even Case Keenum went 7 for 13 for 73 yards and a touchdown. Not good there. Obviously the game got a little bit out of hand for the Giants in the third quarter, 21-10, when the fourth quarter rolled around, and that's obviously not what you want to see from this situation at hand and this team. The secondary has been a weakness. It is concerning. What do we do here, right? What is the solution? Deontay Banks had a couple of moments that were spotty. Nico Collins torched him on one play, pushed him to the ground, and kept running. Obviously not good. Stephon Diggs, picked on Trey Herndon a bit, which he was in the nickel spot. Andrew Phillips did not play, our rookie out of Kentucky. So that was obviously, not encouraging. On the outside, Nick McCloud had a couple of decent snaps, but otherwise it wasn't great. This Houston team, 220 yards and a touchdown going into the fourth quarter. Not great. And on the Giants side, 167 yards through the air and 2 interceptions. The secondary is bad, straight up. So, where do the Giants go from here? Well, you think about the waivers, you think about the options here. Cordell Flott's injured right now. He bounces back. What are you really getting from Flott besides maybe an average player? He really has struggled on the boundary during camp and joint practices this year, so that's a concern at the least. And then you think about the waiver wire, Giants going to have to go get a player that another team is cutting to reinforce their unit, or they consider free agents. There are some free agents still left over. I think Adoree Jackson's still out there. There are guys here that the Giants will have to consider. This team is not going to be able to sustain poor secondary play. Look, their pass rush is going to be good. Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, they showed signs of life. They looked like they had some big moments. Needs to get some more experience. Obviously, they were probably not going 100% at every single moment because it's a preseason game, don't want to get hurt. But they can't carry the secondary, right? You can put pressure on a quarterback, but a good quarterback like CJ Stroud, backed up, managed to work more time for himself, and then slung the football downfield, and the secondary was nowhere to be seen. So this is problematic. If you're a Giants fan, if you're the Giants in general, you have to be thinking about, what do we get some improvements here? And I think that the secondary has a bit more time here, but I think we can all pretty much acknowledge that they're going to struggle, and they're young, they're inexperienced, and that's a problem. You have young, inexperienced players playing key positions, not even winning them just yet. We're not even sure who's playing the CB2 spot. Andrew Phillips has kind of been banged up a little bit, so we don't know if he'll be starting. Like, you assume he's going to be starting as long as he's healthy, but, of course, there are concerns here. The safety position, Dane Belton had a really big penalty in the first half, offset a holding call, so that was not great. And I did see some nice moments from Tyler Nubin, our rookie safety, in the second round, so some positives there. But for the most part, I am concerned about the secondary. I think most Giants fans would say it's probably our biggest weakness right now in terms of where we're going into the season and the depth and starting talent that we do have. We're hoping a lot from Dante Banks. He's going to be tested, man. You're talking about CeeDee Lamb. You're talking about, really good receivers across the board here. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. It's going to be a really tough season. If he gets hurt behind him, Nick McLeod going up against top corners, like, it's going to be ugly. So I think the Giants will address that spot, just a matter of when and how many resources they're going to really throw at it. So that is one of the more key takeaways from this game. But, for the most part, offensively, not much to write home about, besides from the offensive line and Neighbors looking really good. DJ bounced back in the second quarter, but it was against backups. So, can't really put much stock into it, but at least he had some positive moments. He did have some nice throws, so, I'll give that to him. He had one, just mind-boggling mistake that, by the way, does lose you football games. Those type of mistakes are the difference between winning and losing in the NFL and momentum. The second interception, good teams are going to bounce right back and score on us. So you need to, limit those turnovers. Hopefully they start to get less and less and fewer in between as the season progresses here. But, we'll give DJ, we'll give him the game. We'll say, we'll forget about it. Just get better. Just win football games. Winning football games is all we want. If he wins football games, no one's going to care. No one's going to remember. No one's going to give a crap. But the truth is, we've seen that same mistake happen many times. So that is concerning that it's not gone. It's not alleviated. I don't know what the coaching staff feels. We'll see what Brian Dable says about his performance. But, a lot of people will say, what do you expect? He's coming off the ACL tear. Sure. I'll give him that slack. I think, we can all say, we don't really care unless it's the regular season. If he does this in the regular season, we'll have to have another discussion. But for the most part, offensive line looks a lot cleaner. Really liked the pass protection at times. The gaps they had opened and the pockets they had provided DJ, they were good enough. They were good enough to make the right reads, right throws, and make accurate throws. So got to keep capitalizing on that. He's going to have the pocket this year to make those throws. And, he's got to maximize his playmakers, maximize his talent here. Bad throws, bad decisions, big mistakes. Can't happen. You're in year 6 now, bud. This is it. You have a good protection, good receivers, and you got the time in the pocket, and you're healthy. You got to be playing $40 million quality football, man. More than that. His cap hits more than that. So, you got to be playing up to your contract. If you're not, Giants need to make business decisions at this point of the season. I don't know how big the rope is going to be for him, but there were signs of concern. Of course, first preseason game, don't really care that much about it. Is what it is. Hopefully he gets better. Hopefully he continues to improve and progress and win us football games. That's all we want. So we'll see what happens here, guys. Always happy to hear your thoughts down below in the YouTube comment section. Next week at the Jets. Don't expect the starters to play. Couple injuries, roster cuts will be coming up, so we'll got you guys covered on all of those fronts and any updates and news that does drop this upcoming week. There's going to be plenty to talk about, so we got you guys covered always on Fireside Giants. Make sure you like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.
Perfect.